Lord Asriel has torn up our sky and left the world in chaos. The witches believe this is the start of a powerful prophecy. One that could destroy all existence. Or make it anew. It is time to prepare. To draw sides.
In the second season of his Dark Materials, Lyra and Will are at similar stages in their respective journey. They found each other in moments of immense loss, confusion, and distrust. Like many characters in fantasy stories who find themselves caught up in larger forces and battles beyond their scope of understanding, those burdens weigh heavily on them.
The prophecy has begun, and you cannot stop it. However powerful you think you are. I will not betray the child of the prophecy.
Lyra has no desire to be at the center of a prophecy, let alone one in which she assumes the role of the biblical Eve. Will wants his father back and his mother to be well, not the responsibility of keeping safe a knife that can cut between worlds and wield terrible power. The premise of multiple worlds was introduced in episode 2, as Lord Boreal crossed over from one Oxford to another through a shimmering window hidden in a garden. From the perspective of introducing Will much earlier to ensure a smoother second season, the earlier break was justified and at the time seemed fine enough. Within the first few episodes, several pieces were laid out. An authoritarian religious order loses respect for boundaries in a quest for power. Groups of witches must unite, in spite of their differences, to combat the evils of that religious order. Kids face an unforgiving world and often have to fight adults who range from cynical to cowardly to downright evil. Each thread is compelling on its own, and they ought to have resulted in a dynamic story when put together.
Asriel's photograph.
She is known by another name.
Asriel's speech about defeating the authority with or without the help of those who rebelled evidently worked, as fallen angels began to manifest themselves to join his cause, to fight for truth and acceptance against deceit, intolerance, and prejudice of those in power.
We should explore together. I didn't mean you should move in.
Probably easier though, isn't it? Now that we're sticking together.
Unfortunately for Lyra, her ending in Season 2 overlaps with that of her mother. Mrs. Coulter harnessed the power of the spectres to kill the witch, who had been napping on the job of guarding Lyra. The finale didn't reveal what Mrs. Coulter did immediately after finding and waking Lyra, but if there was a struggle, Lyra clearly lost. Mrs. Coulter was travelling via boat with her golden monkey and a large trunk by the end of the episode, with Lyra and Pan asleep inside. Mrs. Coulter has her daughter Lyra drugged to keep her still and asleep inside that trunk. Mrs. Coulter goes into hiding in a cave in the middle of nowhere with extremely limited contact with the outside world, while Lyra is asleep, aside from her unconscious visits to the world of the dead.